Hello. Recording has started. Hello, hello. How you doing? It's Mark Atwood here. The Mark Atwood Show, Adventures in a Cosmic Suit. Do I ever get bored of saying that? No, because you might be new here. So therefore I have to tell you who I am and what it's called. Why is it called Adventures in a Cosmic Suit? Because we're in a spiritual war and we are all learning this. That's really well put, Mark. Well done. Not my best. It's been a long day. I've been busy making shows and doing stuff. Hope you're well. Part of being well is drinking structured living water with electrolytes. It is eating organic most of the time, except when it comes to eggs, should be free range. Food, lots of eggs, good, very good for you. Lots of animal fats. Oh, go the vegans. I know, get over it. What else? Breathing good air. That would be a good idea, wouldn't it? Bit difficult, isn't it? Because we've been sprayed like the bugs that we are. Oh no, I'm doing a German accent. That's not good because my next guest is German. Didn't mean to put down the whole German race there, Jonas. How you doing, Sarah?
It was brilliant. Thank you, Mark. Thank you so much. And we just had a big piece of steak before we came on. So talking about protein and animal fats.
Yeah, it's just a shame that Klaus Schwab has that accent and dresses like Darth Vader because he's like a comical character to me. But no offense, I love Germany. I love Germans. I do. I really do. I got trained to cook by a German. Did you know that? No, nobody knows that. Why would you? How would you know that? You wouldn't. But you do now.
Well, I guess the cooking skills must be amazing then. That's for sure.
Yeah, it's amazing. How are you guys? I've not seen you in about 6 months. Are you well?
Yeah, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, doing very, very well. Yeah, last time I saw you being outside, so I guess we still have winter.
Well, last time we spoke, I was in Spain. Now I'm back in Ireland, and it's a little bit chilly. And I've got this really glaring light that I must get a lighting technique. Anybody watching this wants to light me so I look half decent, I'd really appreciate it. So, what you been up to?
Oh my gosh! I mean, personally, learning, developing, finding much more to ourselves, and yeah, how to live in this crazy times and in this crazy body that we have, right? So every day we learn a lot. And yeah, I mean, regarding forest air, what we're talking about today, I think we couldn't be more happy because more and more people around the world find to us. And I think we have something very necessary for today's world that we live in. And yeah, people realize that more and more. So well, I think also on a business wise, yeah, we cannot complain. It's all good.
Yeah, go on, Sarah.
Well, I was going to say, like you said earlier, how to really fuel ourselves in today's world. I mean, we learn every single month, things that maybe drain our energy and do our best to create better lifestyle habits and stuff. So it's just, it's really a journey because everything is constantly changing. So I think if we can really make an effort to do the best we can every day, that's what matters, right?
Yes.
Exactly. That's why I'm glad to talk to you again. Last time we spoke, we were talking about the forest air device, which I think I titled that video "Cleaner Air Than You'd Actually Get in a Forest" or something along those lines, because that's the truth. You can walk in a forest, you can breathe in, but with the contaminants, you can't. I mean, for everybody watching, let's just talk about the contaminants in the air, because I've covered this extensively a number of times. People talk about chemtrails, obviously, and there's arguments about whether the current chemtrails are there to wake people up or whether they're still bad, and there's a lot of evidence on both sides, actually. But there's stuff that people don't realize, like the particulate dust from rubber tires, which you cannot avoid. You just can't avoid. There's nowhere on earth you can go where you're not breathing that stuff in, And what other things have you, let's just remind the viewers, what other things have you guys come across that made you want to pursue this avenue of getting everybody to breathe clean air?
Well, do you want to answer? Should I answer? I mean, there are 100 reasons to come to this conclusion. I mean, first of all, what I think is still very, very interesting for me up until today is the fact that we speak to all kinds of people every day, of course, to professors, to physicians, to doctors, and so on. And I think the first goal that we have is creating awareness for air at all again, because yes, today people know two things about air, and that is that we have oxygen inside of it and that the air is polluted that we breathe, but still, and whatever these pollutants might be, right? But still when we speak about what is air and how is air formed and how is the sun important and what are the noble gases doing in the air, all of this huge knowledge about something that we do from second to second and literally cannot survive without for 2 minutes, still nobody on this planet knows about, right? So it goes even so much deeper than only pollutants in our air, for example. And this is also, of course, a big part of our mission, is not only to bring people to a nice technology in a today world, which can connect you back to these natural elements and roots that we used to all live with and thrive in, but also most of all importantly to spread awareness about what are we breathing every second and why is that so important and how is all of that working actually, right? So yes.
Well, today you brought some guests along. Do you want to introduce them? First one for me.
Yes, please. Yeah. So first of all, I mean, last time we talked a lot about the technology, and maybe Sarah can also give a little recap in a little bit for the people who haven't watched that yet, right? But our idea for today's podcast was actually to bring in some people that not only use forest air as well, but one of the guests that is here today with us, for example, is Susan, who we actually met through your podcast, and she got a machine after watching it. And Susan is actually a practitioner who has used our technology now for, since we recorded the last podcast. And we are very, very happy to have her here today because she is just also an amazing, human being. So, we have Susan here today.
We'll bring Susan on
Let's
first.
bring her in, yes.
Hi, Susan.
Hello, that's awful being first. That's not a good sign.
I'm sorry, I didn't have any order.
No pressure.
No pressure.
I'm also making it up in a second. Yes, and then next we have our beloved
No.
Sorry.
We can't get everybody on at the same time because we won't be able to hear everybody. That's why I was asking to bring them on one by one.
Do you want to change your mind, Jonas? Do you want to switch me out?
No, please.
What we're going to do now, Susan, is you're just going to say what your experience has been with the forest air, and then we'll bring the rest of the guests on and we can have a group chat.
Okay, so personally, my experience has been very positive for myself. As Jonas knows, my issue is asthma. And I'm a great believer that anything that reaches the lung tissue and benefits the lung tissue has got to be a must for me. And I don't fully understand the technology, but I do understand a little bit that it's got red light therapy technique in there to some degree, I believe. Is that right? And that's
we're going to find out in a minute.
We're going to find out. Okay, yeah. But I notice it when if I'm sitting in the evening, I keep it on for a good hour because I've got the Pro one. I can do it a little bit longer. But I also use it when I do my daily lymphatic workout, which might sound a bit weird, but I find then I breathe properly. And I wear it. Does this sound weird? I wear it. I do my lymphatic workout and I push my tongue to the roof of the mouth, so I'm clearing all the sinuses as well, and then I breathe really correctly and deeply into the lower diaphragm. So for me,
do you want to just
really,
show me that, Susan?
how I do my lymphatic workout?
Not the workout, just how you put it on and what the machine looks like.
There.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I've got two outlets on mine, so two people can use at the same time. Don't know if the screen, can you see?
Yeah.
And it hums nicely. But I then, if I'm going to do any kind of breathing, this is just reflexology a little bit. I hold here because that makes you breathe the lower half. And then I push the tongue to the roof of the mouth. And then I know that I'm nose breathing when I'm not talking, obviously. And that's a far healthier way to breathe than mouth breathing. So for me, it's very, very, very beneficial because I know it is going to be working the mitochondria in the cells in the lungs. It's probably vibrating a little bit. Can you hear it?
Yeah.
On the table. Sorry about that. I should have put a mat underneath.
No, that's fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I also use it on my clients when I'm doing a reflexology treatment, and everybody without fail goes to sleep. but it's a healthy sleep, and they really do go nice and deep. And when I have finished the treatment, whether I'm working the fascia or just the reflexology points, they're out for the count, and I can come into my kitchen and do whatever I need to do and quietly wait for the client to wake up. And they've all said that it makes them go into a far calmer, deeper, less anxious state, which is often why people come. So for me, it's been a positive.
Well, that's brilliant, because that's a direct result of this podcast. So I'm really happy that that's happening.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And I think it's good that Jonah's got you on first, because I'm going to bring Neil Stentiford on now, who created this machine, to explain it in more detail. Hi, Neil.
Hello, Mark. Hi, Susan.
Hi.
Hello, Sarah, Jonas.
Hi, Neil.
It's a gathering here. So this has been a project of love and a lot of time, and we've come up with something that we really believe in. And just excited now that we're getting it out to market, and the traction we get with customers is growing, and the feedback we get from customers, from Susan, we'll hear from Claire. I think we had about 4 last week who all contact us and tell us just how it's helping them in their lives. And it's really quite rewarding that we're having such a positive impact on so many people now. I've been involved in the project part-time for about 6 or 7 years, and then more or less full-time for the last 7 or 8. So we're at a stage where we've got all the science figured out. We've worked with universities, with hospitals. We understand how it works. We've proven how it works, and it's a case of taking it to the wide world. I use mine every day, like Susan does. I've got one of the smaller ones here. I've not had a cold or flu in 5 years. It kills bacteria, viruses, pathogens in the ambient air and the upper airways. And I've sailed through whatever bugs and nasties are out there, and I absolutely believe in that. In terms of what we're doing, we're actually currently close to starting a formal study with long COVID sufferers, and quite a famous professor called Mark Fahy, who's going to help us and guide us through that process. Earlier today, I spoke with the Glamorgan ME group. It's a collective of kind of community of sufferers. So we spoke for an hour on Zoom to about 27 people, I think. And there's a few of them already have the products, and there's a few more who will be buying them afterwards. So it's getting the message out there. We're growing slowly but surely, which is nice. Helps with, as Susan told you, it really does help with the breathing, which is where we started. So people with any sort of like respiratory problem, it helps relax the airways, removes any excess mucus, gets more air into the lungs, more blood around the body, because it's called a vasodilator. So it helps increase the blood flow and deliver more oxygen to the cells of the body, so that the body's mitochondria can make more energy to go about your life. So any condition that's suffering with a lack of oxygen at the cellular level, we help with that. And we're doing a project in India, and hopefully soon to start in Saudi Arabia, with wound care, which is actually a classic condition where the body's cardiovascular system is compromised. It's not delivering enough blood, enough oxygen to the wound site, so these wounds don't heal. And it's actually quite a big problem when you get into it. And we're hoping to do a formal study with a hospital in Saudi Arabia. They have health problems, big health problems, and also money to actually fund studies like this. So that one's quite exciting as well. Please ask me some questions, you guys, because I could just talk all day.
Yeah, well, I was just letting you wait until you ran out of steam, and then I was going to cut in.
Run out there.
And then I realised he's on the forest there and probably never shut up. I'm interested, Neil, in the genesis of this. What was the genesis of it, and what is the exact technology in there that's activating the mitochondria in the lungs and stuff? That's very interesting to me.
Sure. So the genesis is that I've run businesses for half my life, mostly my own businesses, and I've worked with inventors to come up with ideas. We touched on kind of healthcare, but in the softer side of it, like exercise kit and stuff like that. I worked a lot in the hardware industry with tools, power tools and hand tools. So I had quite a nice network of inventors that I spent a lot of time working with. And these guys have a skill that I'd never have. These have these wild ideas, but then in order to give it a fair balance, they also take away all the common sense. So these guys have these fabulous ideas, and they're so difficult to work with, but they're dead interesting people. And they're part of a team. You know, if you can balance them with some more stable people, then they become part of a good team. And it's out of this network I met a German scientist in Cologne all the way back in about 2010, who was working in this field, and we talked for a long time. And anecdotally, he'd experienced positive benefits of working with a technology like this. So we explored it more. We employed him for a couple of years. We made the first product, which was a smaller version of the one that we've just looked at. And away we went. And then it became apparent that nobody really understood how it worked, which leads on to your second question, Mark. So I then spent the last number of years figuring that out. So and we finally got there. So what we do is we activate or energize the oxygen in the ambient air. It goes through our machine. It goes across what we call our catalyst discs, which creates a higher energy state oxygen molecule. That, by definition, that oxygen molecule is unstable, so it immediately reverts back to stable state. And it does that over and over and over again in our little catalyst chamber. So we've got this massive energy chamber that just fires out these oxygen molecules, and every time they degrade back to stable state, they release what we call photonic energy, so light photons. And Jonas and Sarah have a lovely description calling it light energized oxygen. Is that right, guys? Or light activated oxygen. Yeah. So the oxygen then travels out of the machine carrying this photonic energy, and these light photons are little parcels of energy at very precise wavelengths. And those wavelengths interact with the human body to help with something. There's a little molecule that the body produces called NO, nitric oxide, which is a relaxant for the airways, a relaxant for the vascular system. So we get more air into the system, we get more blood around the system, and more oxygen to the cells, and that oxygen turns up at the cells with that extra energy as well, which then helps with the mitochondria making more of the body's ATP energy currency. It does a number of other things, but that's the fundamental shortcut to it.
Well, that's an extremely good answer. It brings up a few questions, but I'm going to bring on Claire Ashton, who introduced me to all of this last summer. Hi, Claire.
Hello. Hello, everybody. I'm good, thank you.
Now, Claire, you've got that amazing place. How's that going? Tell us all about that first.
My clinic?
Yeah.
Yes, we've got a clinic in Leigh-on-Sea, and interestingly, there's a correlation between Susan finding the forest air. I had a couple of people in Essex find me through the podcast as well, so thank you very much for that as well. But yeah, no, we've got a quantum clinic. We work with bioenergetic nutrition, so it's metabolic nutrition, and sort of quantum tools, hence the forest air. So we use bioresonance, light therapies and various other things, but more to do with natural rhythms, telling people how to find their rhythm with sunlight and various other things. So
what's your website, Claire? I've forgotten.
It's inner.health.
Inner.health.
Yeah.
Has that changed since I last spoke to you?
No. What, the website or the actual name?
No, the name of the website, because I've gone to inner.health and that's not it.
It's inner as in INNA.health.
INNA.health. Aha. Right, okay. I just want to make sure everybody knows what that is.
Twist on the word.
Very good. Quantum bioresonance. I'm just going to share that with everybody so they can see it.
Oh,
I'm going to put links to all of this, guys, below the video as usual. But if you want to have a look at Claire's place, there.
Oh, it's really kind of you, Mark. Thank you so much.
There it is. Quantum Bioresonance Clinic.
That's us.
Ta-da. That's amazing. So, I mean, this is really interesting because we've got the creator, we've got the advocates, we've got the end user, and we've got a therapist. So we're covering all angles on this podcast. You introduced me to the Jonas and Sarah about this last year. Do you want to explain why? Because what kind of results were you getting, and why are you recommending this product?
So I was lucky enough to meet Sarah and Jonas through a mutual friend called Marcel. He's one of Luc Montagne's colleagues or something like that. He was quite a crazy man, wasn't he? And he was using the device and introduced me to it, and said he was loving it. So I was like, okay, let's have a little go. So we brought it into the clinic just to trial. And I think one of the first ones was...
Hello? Have we lost Claire?
Yep.
Oh dear. Okay.
Am I back?
No, you're back.
Now you're back. Yeah.
I'm so sorry. I live in the middle of nowhere, so whenever I speak to Sarah and Jonas, I always disappear from some stage. But yeah, so we the first person that ever used it was that Tomo. We spoke about him on the last podcast, and he was the young boy that had the Tourette's and tics and just instantly calmed. And then I was just like, whoa, there's something super special about this. So we started using it with various other people alongside other therapies. And we were getting, I would say, faster, quicker recoveries. So, and that's, I mean, we treat people from, you know, menopause to Parkinson's to everything. And so you start to gauge how quick people are receptible to the therapies. And I would say what's happening with us, and this is just a wild stab in the dark, so I'm not 100% sure, but I think the forest air just calms their system down and allows them to heal. So it's almost like, I mean, there's loads of studies in the heart rate variability, but they just seem to go into this peaceful state, and then they surrender to healing. And then so your body feels safe enough to then take other therapies and other things. So it's been wonderful in our clinic. We wouldn't go without it now. So we do have the Pro device, which Susan's got, and we also rent out home devices because some people want to take it home and use it daily. But yeah, Sarah and Jonas, not only have they got a lovely product, obviously Neil as well, sorry Neil, I keep forgetting about you, but they are the most heart-centered humans I have ever met. They are in it for the right reasons. I just want to put that across because I've met a lot of people in this world and they are truly heart-based, like everyone on this podcast. So, and that's part of the reason I wanted to introduce you, Mark, because I know that you are especially from that, the truth.
Well, I'm all for anything that's going to help people during this time, and you know, for me, it's about survival, but also about just learning more. You know, because you know, air. People don't think about it, and somebody on this podcast has got a noisy thing going on. I don't know who it is. I'm just gonna annoy the listeners. I'm just gonna mute everybody. Sorry about this. It's very annoying. It was Neil. Right. Neil's got something noisy going on there. I don't know what it is. I'm just muting you for a second, Neil. Don't take it personally. Where was I? Yeah, air. We don't think about air, even though we're doing it all the time. And there is, I don't know if any of you guys are familiar with Quantum Tumbler, but he's on X and he's talking about breathing for a certain amount of time and then out for a very specific amount of time to achieve things. And I have said this on the podcast before, the most powerful thing I ever did was breathing techniques in a forest in Watford about 8 years ago, which was bigger than an ayahuasca journey. It was unbelievable. You guys have any experience of that kind of stuff?
Yep, totally. Yeah.
With ayahuasca or with a good experience? Oh, okay.
No, with breathing techniques. Yep. I'm trying to remember what it's called.
Buteyko.
I'm trying to remember the name of the woman that taught me it. She was unbelievable. But
was it Buteyko?
Or like holotropic breathing, maybe.
No, it was ancient breathing techniques that allow you I'm going to have
Yes.
to mute you again, Neil, because that noise is terrible. There you
Yes.
go. Yeah. Sorry about that. I don't know what that noise is, but I've just muted you for a second. So anyway, yeah, breathing. Susan Dennis, I think that was her name. Yeah, what intrigues me, I mean, they're popping up everywhere. Breathing classes are, I'm seeing it anecdotally. This kind of device combined with that would be really powerful, wouldn't it?
Yes.
That's yeah.
We like to just encourage as like a basic level, just coherent breathing, which is a very nice, easy 1, 2, 3, 4 pattern through the nose, and doing a deep diaphragmatic breathing while using the device is a really beautiful way just to also practice some mindfulness and presence, right? Because like we always talk about, it's not only how we breathe, but it's what we breathe. But when you're using the device, you can also actually intentionally become more present in how am I breathing, and hopefully, ideally, throughout the day, start to pay attention to your breath better.
Yeah. I also always tell people and breath workers, especially who know how important the breath is. I always say, imagine your body is a car, and what is the engine that we have? It's obviously our lungs, right? And the right breathing technique in the end is only how do we fine-tune the engine of our car. But no car can only run by an engine. It needs fuel, of course. And what is the fuel? It's first and foremost the air that we breathe, and then maybe food and water, because I mean, we can go without water for 1 week, maybe without food for a couple months. But if we all stop breathing now for 2 minutes, I think we know how important it is, right? And yeah, and if you fine tune your engine correct, meaning we have the right breathing pattern and you breathe into your belly and everything, and then have the most high grade fuel, then your car will basically drive most efficiently, right? And then for the car, it also doesn't matter if it has to go to the UK or to Frankfurt, it can drive, right? And I think this is also how you can envision this, to using forest air with breathing exercises and having any conditions, because when the engine can work properly and the fuel can work properly, then our body can simply just function and can adapt to every challenges that it might have, right? And so that's actually a very important point, Mark, that you point out there, that obviously it's the combination of both how do we breathe and being conscious about that, especially people who have a lot of stress, obviously, but then obviously also what we breathe, right? And I mean, you already, in the beginning of the show talked about that. Even in the countryside today, if you look at how the quality of our air is, and if you look at how much people are actually indoors and not outside again, none of us is getting the air that we used to have maybe 200, 300 years ago, right? So it's just such a big topic.
So there's going to be people watching this saying, why should I get a machine when I've got a spider plant and I've got an aloe vera plant, and and they're doing that job already for me in the house? How is this better than that?
Yep.
Inflammation.
Should I go on, or
There's many of us that I think could answer this.
Who wants to answer that?
I'll start it. So like you mentioned, the air quality that we have today is not ideal for our biology, and the technology that Neil described is we're mimicking a very important part of photosynthesis. So many of us learned in school that in the process of photosynthesis, we make oxygen, but we don't realize that we also energize oxygen. So in nature, when plants absorb more sunlight than they need, they actually pass that extra photonic energy onto oxygen, and we breathe this energy, light-rich air. And so when we spend most of our days indoors, in the office, in cars, and unfortunately in polluted environments, which 99% of the people are affected by now, we're not breathing the air that our cells need. And so some people might be asking, well, how is this different than hyperbaric or ozone and so forth? And what we're doing is we're not increasing the volume of oxygen that we're delivering. We're simply making it more easier for our cells to recognize and use with this light energy. So you can have some house plants in your house, and we can open up the windows and we can have air filters, but we're still not getting the quality of air that we were designed to live with, right?
Yep.
Yeah, that's a pretty good answer, because my next question was going to be, how does it differ to something like Brown's gas, which I assume Neil might be the best to answer. But I'm going to unmute you now because that noise is there. How you doing, Neil? Can you hear me?
I'm sorry about the noise. It's not in the room, so therefore it must be somewhere on the line.
Yeah, it happens. It's okay. It just happens. I'm just thinking of the viewers because they'll be like, that's annoying. But
Sure,
when you're speaking, it's fine.
I can't tell you anything about Brown's gas. Sorry.
Well, Brown's gas is like, it's a machine that was using electrolysis, pulls in oxygen mixed with lime is one of the versions.
Lime machine, yeah.
There's another version that does it, not lime, lye, yeah. And what it does is it creates 66% hydrogen and 33% oxygen. It was originally founded by a guy called Browns, funnily enough, in the 60s as a oxyacetylene torch because it burns at a higher temperature. But what it actually, one of the reasons we found it so useful in the center is because the way I describe it is like this. It's like if your cell is a rundown house, Brown's gas is like bringing a team of elite builders to rebuild it instead of an old man in a knackered van with worn out tools. And because of the hydrogen element. But what's interesting about this is this is energized oxygen, which I'm deeply interested in. Those people watching saying, have you got this at Live 5D Health? No, we haven't yet, but we're going to. It's been a very busy 9 months, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted to catch up with these guys, just to reaffirm and also to get all these testimonials about it, especially from the creator and these other guys. So you can't answer that question, that's fine. But Claire, in a therapeutic environment, what does it involve for somebody coming in to have a treatment? How long do you give them? Do they have to be in a sealed room to benefit from this? And how many times would somebody use it for, say, we get a lot of people into our place who are low in energy, obviously, because look, nobody's sick, they're toxic. Everybody should know that by now. There is no such thing as disease, it's just dis-ease caused by over toxicity. So anything like this that's helping with that situation to get somebody back to homeostasis is a big thumbs up from me.
Yeah.
But it's like the application of that for things like people who, obviously we've already talked about the fact that it's extremely good for helping people relax, get rid of anxiety, sleep better. These are massive problems that people have right now, and that creates a cascade of problems that lead towards disease because they're not getting enough sleep, for example. Huge. But there's people like Susan was talking about, the asthma, that's also huge, and so is COPD. How does this work for things at those levels when you've got people coming into your place using it?
Firstly, it's really simple to use. Just to answer that question, it is a case of just putting the cannula up their nose and plugging it on. So we tend to start with 20 minutes wherever they want to be. So some people come in specifically for that, and they can lie down, just enjoy that, just shut eye and a bit of quiet time and just the breathing and the breath. Or people have therapies and we can plug them up while they're having their therapy. And we would start with 20 minutes, or they can have up to 40. And then, like I said, people take them home and continue them daily. I think the biggest thing that I've learned is, yes, people are toxic. But I think if we can support their bodies to do what they're innately meant to do, then they will slowly heal. So it's not, we don't strip, we don't pull away, we just support and put everything in. And like through, again, like you said, organic food, nutrition, light therapies, everything that is missing from them to ultimately thrive, we put back in, and then they slowly get better. So forest air is just a massive piece of that, in my opinion. And like you talk about water, this is just as important. And there's not many people talking about air and air quality and what we can do, and this, especially the energized aspect of it. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
No, it does, because air quality, I have talked about air before, but most people think a filter, that's all I need. I just need a filter. It's the same with the the water. It's like the next level. You know, people go, I've got a Britax filter for my water. I'm like, well, you know, so what? You know, you've got to go a bit further than that and go a bit deeper. So that's why it's interesting to get your perspective on it. And Susan, you're using this on a daily basis, and how long have you been using it for now?
About 7 months, I think. I've had mine for, and it's been an increasing journey, if that's the right word. But what I would like to say, I have a client who comes to me every month, and he came because he has suffered with dreadful insomnia, and he's a recovering addict. I'm sure he won't mind me saying, you don't know him, I'm not going to say his name, but he literally, from the age of 17, he's now 35, was taking all sorts of drugs, particularly ketamine and alcohol. And his issue was he couldn't sleep. So he's 2 years, I think, now in complete recovery. And when he went to his GP, the GP wanted to give him a sleeping tablet. And as he said to his GP, I am an addict. I can't have any medication. So when he started coming to me, obviously he came to me for reflexology to calm everything down. And it was another client of mine who happens to be one of the counsellors at the clinic that he was going through the detox process. So he started having reflexology, but I put him on the machine, and he can be with me for 2.5 hours because I'm very part-time, and I just allow my client to wake up and leave when they're ready. You know, they're all sort of people that I now know. And he sleeps like a log the day that he has had reflexology and used this machine. And he would be the first person to say, that's the first thing I hook up when I lie on the La Fuma chair, the treatment chair. So for him, it's been a huge success. And I would say probably out of all my clients, it's the reduction of inflammation. It has to be. And it's calming all his nervous system down, and he is sleeping again. So that's been the biggest journey. And my own, yes, my asthma. It's definitely helped with my asthma. Definitely. And sleeping, because I'm an insomniac, but I'm not tired on it. If I was tired on it, I'd be more worried. But it's definitely helped with sleeping.
Can you quantify what it's done for your asthma for people? Because there's going to be, I mean, the sleeping side of it is huge. I know there's thousands of people going to watch this who really do have trouble sleeping. So that's brilliant. But asthma is particularly interesting because
asthma is a really difficult one because it's so complex. And I was 31 when I was pregnant with my eldest daughter. And the GP said, oh, you've got an upper respiratory tract infection. No tests, no checking, and said, I can't really look into it because of, you know, being pregnant. But immediately put me on the blue inhaler, the dreaded inhaler. And I've never really questioned it, other than when I go to some areas, it's worse than others. So I know for me, it's allergy based. It's definitely pollution. So I've always been fairly aware of the way I breathe and the air that I breathe. And I would say since the whole 2020 nonsense, that my asthma went through the roof. And I know not the year that we were in lockup, as I call it, because the skies were clear. I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. But it got progressively worse. And I would say that I was living with my blue inhaler more than 2 times a day. 4 to 6 times easily, if not more. And through the night was awful. And I thought, right, what is it? Because I'm doing everything else to stay healthy. I don't have any health issues other than my lungs. And it comes and it goes. And since I've been using the machine, and I will sit sometimes for an hour and a half, 2 hours with it on in the evening. You know, if I'm sitting or reading, I put this on. And I have spurts of using my inhaler when it's really, really bad in the air. But I can equally go 6-7 weeks without touching the inhaler. And believe me, for me, that's a huge advancement.
Yeah,
That's really-
we've had the same actually with a couple of clients of ours that have had asthma, and they didn't come in for asthma, but it was a byproduct of using the forest air, where they mentioned that they hadn't been using their pumps. So we can correlate that.
Yeah, that's really powerful. Now, the next question is for anybody to answer. I know there's always going to be people saying it's too expensive. Now, my view, I don't know what the price is at the moment, but my view on this is that people watching, there's a lot of people watch my show who are already therapists, reflexology, like Susan, right? Or have clients and things like that. And Claire's got a clinic. Do we call it a clinic, or what do we call it?
I call it a clinic.
I call mine a clinic sometimes. I never know what to call it. You know, because there's words that you're not allowed to use. You know, you're not allowed to say it's a healing center. But yeah, what I was going to say is, like, for those people who are watching who are like, well, I'm not a practitioner. I'd really like to use one of these, but how do they? I mean, there's a lot of questions around that. I often say for things that are more than a few £100, that people should club together and get them and then share it. Have you got any experiences of people doing that? And also, my other question is, and this is really for Neil, I suppose, you know, is there a portable version of this? Is there a way of bottling this stuff so that people can take it on the go? That would be interesting as well, wouldn't it? Because what Susan's saying there, when she goes to different areas and the suffers in different places, has to wait till she gets back home to get onto it. I'm just wondering, you know, any developments in that area, or any thoughts on how people can access it if they can't afford it.
Yeah, let me talk about portability, and then Jonas will talk about affordability. So this fella just plugs into the wall with a 12-volt adapter. So if you're not at home, you can't do that. So what we're working on right now is some form of battery power, so you can actually use it, you know, away from home. Technically, you can use it in the car with an adapter, but also, you know, we're looking at a battery pack that you can perhaps just strap to the bottom of it, so that, you know, you can almost use it walking down the street. So that will come pretty soon. And there's no reason technically that we can't do that. It's just a case of just figuring it out. So that's just time.
So that's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay, Jonas, what about the affordability? Because I'm very careful about talking about things that are outside of people's pocket, and but this is so useful. Would be so useful to so many people. Have you got any experiences of people finding out ways of sharing and renting or anything like that they could, And do you send it all? You're muted, by the way. Do you send it all over the world? We can't hear you. No, we still can't hear you. Where have you gone? He's having trouble with his buttons today.
Perfect. Yeah. Well, yeah, first of all, we do ship in the whole world, exactly. And we have that actually all the time, that people get together and fund a device together, because I would say 80% of the clients that we have are 60, 70 years and up, because these are obviously the people that have the most challenges. And we have that often. For example, COPD is also a big condition that we treat with Forest Air. And people with COPD always have something in common, which is they don't work anymore and they don't have a lot of money. So we see that all the time, that families get together and say, hey, come on, I throw in 200, you throw in 200, and they get a device for her mom or for whoever, right? So that's pretty common, actually. But I think what's the most amazing thing about Forest Air is, I mean, if you compare this to a lot of oxygen therapies that are out there, it's not only non-invasive compared to all of or most of them. I mean, Brown's gas, for example, I think is also non-invasive, or ionized oxygen, for example. But most of the machines, I mean, we're not talking about a few $100. We are mostly talking about a few $1,000. And I mean, our professional device obviously also goes into this range, but this is all the reason why Neil especially created this portable home device, right? Because we wanted to be able not to only make it portable for people, but to somehow make it affordable. And that's, I think, is also a big thing about the kind of product we have, because as you can see, it's a block out of aluminium. it's definitely not made to be the most beautiful and most sexy device on the world, but it's, I would say, one of the most reliable, because we build our devices in a way so that we can sell them as cheap as possible, because everyone needs this at home. And of course, I always say when this device falls on the floor, the floor breaks before the device breaks. So yeah, it's all about just making it as convenient as possible, and making sure that it's still in a price point that people can afford it, right? And I mean, this is only a couple $100. I know people that do holidays and they spend $3,000 and go drinking and do all of kind of not good stuff for their bodies. So
Yeah, but
this is
that's the hilarious thing when it comes to healing stuff, because people say, "Oh, I can't afford it," and now off they go. It's all about priorities, isn't it?
Yes. I think everyone deep inside always knows what to do, but the big obstacle is always to do it, right? So, yeah.
Well, I think the interesting thing here is that since I last spoke to you guys, the Forest Air story is developing. Sounds great. It's really great for you to share this information with us, everybody that's here today. I really appreciate Neil coming on. That's terrific. By the way, Neil, long COVID. We call it vaccine injury in these parts. Susan, lovely to meet you. And Claire, thank you so much for coming on. Sarah and Jonas, thank you again.
Thank you.
I think we'll call it quits there, because it's been a good show. It's really interesting. You guys watching, links below the video as usual. And anything you want to say before we leave, guys?
Well, I personally want to say thank you so much, especially Susan and Claire, what you shared. I mean, it's just always so amazing to see that what we do does matter, right? So thank you for that. Thank you, Neil, for introducing us and for doing this for the humanity. I mean, this is just amazing. And last but not least, thank you so much, Mark, for giving us a stage to present this to the people. So yeah, we are so thankful for every one of you, and we really hope that was good.
Yes. I also want to say that if anyone's watching this on YouTube or any other outlets, and you just want to have a conversation and chat and learn more, we're more than available to speak to anybody who has questions, or if you are struggling with your health and you've tried things and want to learn more, we're absolutely here for you.
And if I can add something to that, I think that's also a big part of our work is we don't only want to sell devices, but for example, when we had the last podcast, Sarah did a health consulting with everyone who got back to us. So people get free health consultings from us. And we really just want to make sure that, we are all doing good and doing better, right? It's about so much more than only selling a device. We really want to make sure that our planet is getting healthy again and happy again, right?
Well, no, I think it's amazing that Neil's created this product. It's brilliant. And the fact that Susan's here is wonderful for me, because it's showing that the podcast makes a difference. So that's really appreciate that, Susan. And Claire, I want to come and see your place, Claire, next time I come to England.
Well, ditto.
I'm going to try and get there next time. But come to Ireland anytime. All of you.
Come I'm there. Don't worry.
Yeah. I do.
And come and have a reflexology.
Yes, it's on my list, because I've not had that done for about 10 years. But
and fascia work, come and have that.
Jesus, I'll be so busy healing, I won't have time to do that. But thanks everybody for being here.
Thank you, Mark.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.